Okay, so Federalist 51. So as we saw, basically we have the background of social contract theory that basically says people come into government for basically selfish reasons. You have to accept that what people want out of government is not to be completed in some way, it's not to be made more virtuous or more whole or to join in a partnership for which they have some kind of natural need. The reason they join into government basically is to have certain selfish interests guaranteed, protected, secured, to have certain basic rights secured, in particular their right to security and also right to property, right to freedom. Okay, so we see some of that in Federalist 10, where Madison is basically saying, obviously he's saying a lot of things that we've talked about, but one of the things that he's saying is let's accept that people come into politics for basically selfish reasons. Okay, people join into politics, they form factions. Why? What do they base these factions on? According to Madison, as he says, the most common and most durable source of factions are differences in property. So what people ultimately are going into politics for is to protect or to secure or to augment their property. Okay, so he basically says people are selfish, but again, that's not a problem because we can find a way to manage that selfishness, to bring all these people together, and by accepting that they're selfish, we can actually create a new system of government that will work much better than anything that's worked before. Federalist 51 continues this. Federalist 51, if you remember, one of Brutus's great concerns was people are ambitious. You can't create a federal government that has all of this power because people like power too much. They're going to get power hungry, power drunk. They're going to try to get more and more and more, and they're not going to be satisfied until they're tyrants. Okay, so this was Brutus's concern. People like power too much. People are too ambitious. You can't tempt them with this kind of government that has this kind of power. Okay. And just as Brutus said, factions, that's going to be a huge problem. You're not going to be able to bring everybody together with these factions. That's not going to work. So he said, this government is too powerful. People are too ambitious. It's not going to work. Again, Madison says, au contraire, on the contrary, actually, this will work just perfectly fine. And it will work perfectly fine exactly because people are ambitious. The key is not to try to make people unambitious. The key is not to try to get rid of that or change that. The key is to accept it and to realize how to manage it, just like factions. Accept that people will always form factions. Factions are part of democracy. You can't get rid of them. Accept that and learn how to manage them. Okay, it's the same thing with ambition. Accept that people are ambitious and learn how to manage it. Okay, so that's kind of the big picture and the way in which Madison is trying to respond to Brutus and other anti-federalists. Specifically, Federalist 51 is about what in one phrase or one set of words. It's about separation of powers. Okay, Federalist 10 was about factions, Federalist 51 is about separation of powers. And that, of course, means that power is divided in the American government into three different major branches: the legislative, or the Congress, the executive, or the presidency, and the judicial, which is the entire court system, at the top of which is the Supreme Court. Okay, so power is divided among these three branches, and the specific question of Federalist 51 is, how are we going to keep this power divided? Because that's the key to stopping this new national government from becoming too powerful, is keeping the power divided among three branches. But how do you do that? How do you stop one branch from becoming too powerful? And again, remember the Declaration of Independence. The king was the executive. He had become too powerful. And in particular, he was trying to take power away from the other branches, and he was really effectively trying to reduce the other branches to dependency on him in some way, to make them weaker than him and to make them in some way that they would have to report to him. So how are we going to stop that from happening in the new government? Okay. And again, this is all in the slides, as well as, of course, Federalist 51 is in your textbook. And basically, the first thing he considers is, will we have external checks? Will we try to stop things by putting some kind of external check on the Constitution? He says, no, that's not going to work. And as he puts it in the famous phrase, ambition must be made to counteract ambition. And he says, as he puts it, this is in slide 10 of the review, the Constitution, the set of slides called the Constitution. The great security against a gradual concentration of the several powers in the same department consists in giving to those who administer each department the necessary constitutional means and personal motives to resist encroachments of the others. So in other words, you have these three different branches. You have to give each of them the constitutional means to check the others, and we have that. Congress can impeach the president if they think he's really doing something illegal. The president can veto laws that Congress passes. The Supreme Court can strike down laws that Congress has passed and the president has signed into law. They have ways to resist the encroachments of the others, as he puts it. So constitutionally, it's possible. And what Madison says is, don't just trust that these people are going to be so public spirited and so full of love for the common good and so on that they're going to do this. Find the personal motives, as he puts it. As he puts it, the interest of the man must be connected with the constitutional rights of the place. So you have to connect the interest, the personal interest, the selfish interest of the individual with the constitutional rights of the place. So you want their private interest as an individual who, again, is as an individual who is ambitious, who wants more power. Okay, what private selfish interest do they have? They like power. So you have to take that private interest and connect it with their public role. Okay, so there's the private or the individual, and then there's the common or the public, and the key is to get them so that the two harmonize, so that your private interest harmonizes with the public interest, so that what's good for you privately as an individual is the same as what is good for you to do in order for the public good, in order to help the public good. Okay, and he says that's what you can do with this separation of powers, because each branch has a certain amount of power. Okay, it's roughly divided equally among the three branches, the power of the federal government. If one branch gains power, then by definition the other branches lose power. Just like with the king, as the king became more powerful, he tried to make the colonial legislatures and judges weaker. He was gaining power; they were losing power. So the key here is divide the power and give each branch of government the ability to check or to police the other branches, but also trust not that they're going to do this because they love freedom or they love democracy or they love the common man and they want to make sure that he's free. Do this because they have a selfish personal reason to do that. And again, that selfish personal reason is if the president gains power, we in Congress lose power. The president says if Congress gains power, I lose power. So the selfish motive is if one of the other branches gains power, then the other two branches lose power. So again, as he puts it, ambition must be made to counteract ambition. Okay? So again, ambition must be made to counteract ambition. He agrees with Brutus. You have ambitious people. The key is not to make the government weak, to try to stop them from having too much power. The key is to use that ambition to balance the ambition of the others. So use the ambition of one branch to check the ambition of the other branch and vice versa. And that is how you basically divide power among the different branches and give them each, again, the constitutional means, the actual constitutional legal ability to check the actions of the other, and give them the personal motives, which again, if this other branch gains power, I lose power. So again, just as Madison said, in the case of factions, we can balance factions, we can bring them all together and actually make government effective by accepting that we're going to have all these factions and understanding how to balance them, how to use them. So here he says, people are going to be ambitious, and we understand that, and we have to understand it, we have to accept it, and we have to figure out how to manage that, and we've done that. That's Madison's whole argument for the new Constitution is this is a Constitution that is designed in such a way that precisely because people are ambitious, they will never actually gain too much power. Now, we'll see as we go on later in the semester, has this worked the entire time? Has the presidency, for instance, become more powerful than Congress? Some people have certainly argued yes, but this is the early argument, and one that was largely successful, certainly in the sense that you didn't have a tyranny after 20 years or after 100 years. And even though today some people give very heated rhetoric, I mean, the fact is it's one branch has not seized power, one branch has not dissolved the other branches. So it's been largely successful. Again, ambition, counteracting ambition, dividing the power among the three branches, and having those branches check each other. Why? Again, because the members of each branch have a selfish interest in stopping the other branches from becoming too powerful.